Hi, seekers of wisdom. Welcome to another episode of Chronicles of 1900. My name is Abraham Sunday, as usual, and I'm happy to be here again with you. So, last week, we talked about 5 years route to ILR, and I got a request to say, okay, talk about 10 years, talk about 10 years, talk about 10 years. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that. That's because I got through that process to be able to get my citizenship in the UK. So I'm going to tell you about the 10 years route towards settlement in the UK. And this is going to be an exciting one for you. I'll give you enough information. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out as well. It's not difficult. It's just a normal process. But if you don't know, you don't know. So let's start by asking a question. What does it mean to say you have a long residence in the UK? Or you've been in the UK for 10 years and you're applying through the long residence route. So it means that you've been in the UK for 10 years and you are now eligible to apply for ILR, indefinite leave to remain. Now, I need to say this to you that one of the things that has been identified is that you have to be legally in the country for 10 years before you can apply for it, which means if you are illegal, this is going to be a challenging one. I'm not sure you're going to do it, but it requires to have been legally resident and residing in the country for the last 10 years. Okay. Now, once you are able to apply for this, couple of things you must know is that for you to apply for this, you need to have track records of your stay for the last 10 years. You need to be able to look for your biometrics and whatnot that you have used, or visa, entry clearance and the likes. They're going to ask for all that. They're going to ask for your passport, the one you used to gain your entry clearance, or the passport you have used after that time. They will ask you to scan everything, or probably even send it over to Home Office for them to be able to give you that residency that you're asking for, which is that ILR. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you must ensure you don't do. If you've been in the country for that 10 years, you must be able to track the times that you have gone out of the country and come back to the country. I did mention that last week Sunday. You must have been able to track your time out of the country and into the country and ensure that you've not stayed out of the country for a period of 6 months or more. So anything below 6 months, you should be okay, all right, within a year. So you have to ensure that you document your time out and your timing, and that you can find on your passport, like I mentioned last week. Now, another thing is you must ensure that you don't have convictions. If you have like driving convictions, you must state everything there, because Home Office can check everything and you don't want to lie on your application because you can get refused for that. So you want to be as truthful as possible. If you have any reason, maybe you have a conviction or you have a court case or you have a CCJ and you know that is going to expire maybe in the next 1 year, I would rather say wait, don't do the application yet. Get your tenure of that conviction to be passed, and then you can then apply for your ILR, because obviously, like you heard and I mentioned it in the previous post, that if you have convictions, you might not be granted that residency. Now, it's not the end of the world. If you are not granted the residency, they can give you an extension. So an extension is you extend your visa. Rather than you getting the settlement visa, which is ILR, they will extend your visa again. And that also applies to anyone that is having their long residency via children. I'm going to talk about the avenues that you can go through to get this long residency. So first, let's talk about the fee. So if you are making this application, from what I gathered here, ILR is now £3,029. £3,029 to make an application for ILR. That's a lot of money. When I did mine, I think it was about 2,000 thereabouts. I can't remember, but now it's £3,029. But if you are extending your stay, it's £1,321. 1,300 to extend your stay. But now, at what point do I extend my stay? At what point do I apply for ILR? Now, some people are related or married to British, or they are applying on their children. So they normally go through the long residence route. So they give them 10 years. So if you're married to British in the country and you're not a citizen, you would typically go through the 10 years route. So they give you like 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years. So 4 times for you to be eligible for indefinite leave to remain. I'm quite sure that people that apply through, if your spouse or your family is EU residents, is quite different. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the long residence, which is the 10 years route. So that one, you would have to apply multiple times to get 2.5, 4 times to get 10 years, to get to 10 years of long residence, and then you can apply for your ILR. But if for any reason, right, you have spent 10 years, but you have not spent 10 years legally, or you spent 10 years, but you have a conviction that's going to impact on your application. So you can extend your stay, which means even when you apply sometimes and Home Office deem your application to not be sufficient for indefinite leave to remain, they will automatically give you an extension. But I've seen a couple of people that actually applied for extension because they couldn't grant them ILR. So you're still legally in the country. It's just that you're not going to have the benefit of ILR. And the benefit of ILR, you might be eligible to benefits, you might be eligible to some other things like right to work, right to live, study as you like, and then some benefits if you're eligible, and then you can use it to apply for British citizenship, which means your ILR comes before British citizenship. So if you got your ILR last year September, by this year end of August, you should be applying for citizenship. So you need to stay on ILR for 1 year before you can apply for citizenship. That's the way it works. Now, when you make this application, you would usually wait 6 months to get response. It doesn't take up to 6 months. Some takes about 3-4 months, but they would say don't contact us until 6 months. If you don't hear from us in 6 months, then contact us. Now, this is where it becomes challenging. You cannot leave the country during that period. Home Office says you must not travel outside of the UK, Ireland, and the Channel of Ireland or the Isle of Man until you get a decision. Your application will be withdrawn if you do. So while you are waiting for that 6 months, you have to cancel all plans to get out of the country, because you can't get out of the country. If you make the mistake to travel out of the country when you have submitted application for ILR, then you might be jeopardizing the opportunity, because Home Office said they will withdraw your application if you do. So you can't get out of the country. Now, if you want to get out of the country, probably you got a business or you need to travel for emergency, you can pay extra £1,000, right, for a super priority application, which means you are paying £4,029, right, to apply for ILR, which means that you can get your decision in the next working day after you have provided your biometric. Now, that's another thing. If you submit your application today and you can't find a biometric till next month, right, even if you pay extra 1,000, you have to wait that 1 month, provide your biometric, which is go to a center where they take your fingerprints, and then after that, in 24 hours, you get a response. But if you don't do the biometric, your 1,000 is still not in effectiveness because you have not been able to capture your biometric. So until you capture your biometric, that's when your 24 hours come in existence. But £1,000 is another extra lots of money as well. Now, another thing again is that when you are successful, they give you an e-visa now, right? Which is an online record. So Home Office doesn't use BRP anymore. So everything is now e-visa. Okay. Now, please understand that the application process is very straightforward. I did mine myself. My wife did her own herself. I know a couple of families and friends that submitted the application as well. All you need to know is the track record of the time you go into the country and the time you get out of the country, and you'll be good. Okay. But if you have questions, you're not sure, or you feel like, okay, it's a bit confusing, I don't know what to state in here or what to state there, feel free to reach out. I can advise you based on what I know. I'm not an immigration expert. Please note that. I'm not an immigration expert. There's a disclaimer. I'm just going to advise you based on what I know, and I'm going to tell you to download the guidance, and the guidance will guide you to be able to do the application. But the way gov.uk works is that because I've worked in the services before, you must make every services to be self-explanatory and easy for users to follow, which means you really don't need anybody to help you out because the application is straightforward, unless you have a complex case that you need an immigration expert or solicitor to help you with. Otherwise, the application should be straightforward. Okay, I hope this has blessed you. If you have any question, reach out to me. It's Chronicles of 1900. My name is Abraham Sunday, and I'm just talking about what you can do to better your life. Okay, like, share, comment, and please subscribe, and let's share the information to family and friends. I hope sometime, if you're on a visa, you'll be looking at yourself and you say, I've been able to go through this journey, and now I'm a resident in the country. Thank you very much. Love you, and God bless you.